So I want to thank all you guys for participating. I'm going to turn myself on here, and you guys can see that the need for a haircut is becoming a little more desperate. So I'm just going to wear my SRS hat. I got to be honest with you guys. I'm pretty psyched about this topic today because it's something that we talk about every time we do a seminar. And I know that some people have questions about what's all involved in this and, how are we going to do this? And I hope to answer a lot of those questions today and really, give you guys the foundation so that you can really build this, presentation for your business. And I'm often asked, what are the biggest mistakes that I see or weaknesses that I see in the contractors that I work with? And I typically see, one of three things happening, and sometimes all of them. One is we don't price condition. Another one is we don't offer financing, which is probably the number one non-negotiable thing. And the third thing is we shortchange our presentation. We shortchange the company story. And I'm gonna dive a little bit more into what I see from a process perspective. But before we get into that, I do just want to make sure that we first and foremost recognize our sponsor, Roof Hub, and I want to make sure that I remind everybody that we are currently offering a 3% rebate on all Roof Hub orders that are ordered and shipped now through May 31st. So if you're using Roof Hub to process your orders, and I want to tell you guys, we are ecstatic at just how much people have embraced this technology and this tool. And if you are currently not placing orders on Roof Hub, will you do me a favor and just send me an email or a text and tell me why? Because it is by far one of the best tools that I think is out there today. And our team has really made this so simple. I mean, literally even a caveman can do it. So if you have any interest in getting on board with Roof Hub, contact your territory manager, contact your branch manager, heck, contact me, and I'll put you in touch with the guy who created the app. But we think that you'll be pleasantly surprised by all the things Roof Hub does, but in particular the online ordering. I mean, it's really simple. And that's all I'm going to say about that, because I really got a lot to talk about today, and I want to talk about you guys. So when we get to the company story and we start to talk about the company story, I always show this slide, and this really is the opportunity for you all to talk about you. Somebody's making a comment here. So somebody asked me if Roof Hub integrates with AccuLynx, and I am going to answer that one question. I'm going to answer all your questions, but I'm going to stop to answer Chrissy's question. Chrissy asked a great question, and I want you to know that SRS has taken the position that we want to integrate with everybody. One of the things that we don't want to do is you don't want to be that kind of distributor that basically says, hey, you can use our app as long as you work with this particular company. If there's value in you working with AccuLynx, if there's value in you working with Job Nimbus or GiddyUp or Job Progress or Salesforce, we want to partner with those providers. And we've certainly given them every opportunity to do that. The challenge that we have is we have some of those providers who are making it extremely difficult for us to work with them. So all I'm asking you to do, Chrissy, is contact, Rich Spanton and the people at AccuLynx and just say, hey, man, I really want to be able to use AccuLynx to place orders, and then push on your end. We'll push on our end, and hopefully in the not so distant future, we'll be able to work together to provide a solution for you. I can tell you that a short-term solution is if you want to, all you need to do is change where the order is sent. And rather than and it's all being done via email, you just provide your local branch or your TM or your branch manager as the email recipient, and they'll take those orders and they'll process them. But it's not going to have that integration that we talk about, or that smart template technology that's making Roof Hub really such a welcomed answer. So Chrissy says, I'm not surprised I'm the squeakiest wheel. Be the squeakiest wheel. We want you to, lobby for us to partner up with them, and we'll continue to do it on our end. So let's talk about the company story. Guys, one of the things that's like this interesting paradox in selling, right, is you'll hear me during seminars say things like, don't make it about you, don't make it about you, right? Make it about the customer, make it about the customer. And then I get into this segment where I start talking about, you need to tell your company story. You need to sell them on why you're the contractor should be the contractor of choice for the project. And how do we do that? When does that come into play? So I'm just going to share with you guys the process. And without diving too far into this process, I want to let you know that what we're talking about today is right here. It's the company story. So just feel me out on how we got here, okay? I processed the lead. I spent the initial stages of the sales call trying to establish some rapport and some trust that paved the way for me to, ask them some questions about how they feel about their project, what their concerns are, what their wants are, what their needs are. I did a roof inspection to check the home for visual confirmation of what the project needs from a product and application perspective. And now I'm going to take all that information that I gathered, and I'm going to try to speak to that within the context of my company story. So let's talk about the reasons why your company story is critically important. Number one, your typical homeowner, honest to God, they don't know much about your company. And I'm not trying to attack anybody's brand, because I know some of our roofers do a really, really good job of creating familiarity in the marketplace and trying to position themselves as the most recognized brand in the marketplace. But at the end of the day, if I walked into a park, and hopefully at some point soon I'll be able to do that, but if I walked into a park and I started walking up to people and saying, hey, can you tell me any roofer? I think you'd be hard-pressed to find that the majority of those people probably couldn't name any roofing contractor, okay? They could probably name a brand, and there's certainly some value in the aligning yourself with those brands, but they really don't know much about a roofer. The other thing is, and I want to tell you this too, some of you guys, really are proud of the fact that your business is driven by referrals. Well, I'm a referral company. I was given a referral, and that's really cool. But don't ever assume that the referral is as comfortable and familiar with you as your client was. They're not having big conversations. And by the way, have you ever considered how people refer business nowadays? I mean, we live in a very sort of litigious society, and nobody wants to stick their neck out in the neighborhood. I remember when I moved to Orchard Park, New York, where I live, and I asked my father-in-law, hey, can you recommend a mechanic? And he said, yeah, I'd use Smitty's. He's never screwed me as far as I can tell. I mean, that's a recommendation. So people will offer a referral, but at the same time, they'll tell their friends and family, check their references. If they worked for me, I'm not, make sure they're good for you, that kind of thing. So they recommend it, and they sort of step away from it at the same time. The other thing is your clients have very little knowledge about your product and your system and your processes. And they are simply looking for estimates in some cases to shop around. And they really have no clue what any of this stuff should cost. So the real purpose of the company story is to help answer all of those questions for the customer, because in doing that, that goes a long way in building and reducing trust objections, and reducing the shop around objections, and reducing the I want to think about it objections. Guys, if you think about when we do seminars, one of the things I say is the goal of the sales process is to create a condition that causes the prospect to come to the conclusion that I'd have to be crazy to choose anybody other than these guys. Even in the end of the day, if they tell you that your price is too high, they still know that there's some value in doing business with you, and now we're asking them to weigh the additional cost required to do business with me, right? If I don't use you guys, I'm probably going to get screwed. And at the end of the day, we're just trying to get them to determine whether it's worth an extra $1,000 for the peace of mind of not getting screwed, without using those words, right? So one of the things I want to tell you is that your company story, it's not just about telling people that you do quality work. I mean, and I want to be clear, you going out and you making the promise that we're trained and we install to code and we install in accordance with the manufacturer's installation and warranty requirements, that is the minimum expectation. I mean, guys, and I tell this story all the time, right? I mean, last time I was in a hotel, which was several weeks ago, I stayed at a hotel, and when I checked into my hotel, do you know what they had in my room? They had a bed. They had clean linens. I had a little bottle of shampoo and conditioner and a bar of soap. I had a TV. It was clean. Now, most people don't get really excited when I tell them that story, because we all expect those things, right? But if I told you a story about me being in Portland, Maine, staying in a Marriott Courtyard, true story, Marriott Courtyard, and they had a snowstorm that night. And when I woke up the next morning with my leather shoes and my slacks, getting ready to go to a meeting, I had about 8 inches of snow on the ground. And I found that the people at the courtyard not only cleared my rental car of all of its snow, but they shoveled a path around my driveway, around my vehicle, making sure that I didn't have to get soaked to get in my car. Now that's a differentiator, right? That's powerful. That's not expected, but that's a story worth telling. And that's what we're really trying to get to when we talk about our company story. One other thing to mention, your company story, it's not about your shingle brand. And look, I know we have some brands, some vendors on this call right now, some manufacturers on this call, and I'm not taking anything away from the power and the equity that they've created in making their product the brand of choice for so many of you and for so many of your customers. But I want to warn you that if you go into the home and you make your entire presentation about your brand, if I, for example, go in there and say, hey, look, I could use any shingle product on the market, but I use Owens Corning, and here's the reasons why, and I make it all about Owens Corning, what I then start to do is I tip the scale from one where the customer is evaluating me as a buying criteria to one where the customer is evaluating the shingle brand as a buying criteria. And if the shingle brand becomes the buying criteria, then why do they need you? Or more importantly, why should they pay $1,000 more to choose you when they can get the other guy who's going to install that same product that you just told them was so great? They can do it for less. And here's the other thing I want you to consider, because some of you guys will say, hey, I'm certified. I get that. But there are literally thousands of contractors certified in the marketplace. So if that becomes the criteria, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, you need to align choose a certified manufacturer who uses this shingle brand. I bet there's 50 people on this call today that are going to be able to tell me that they're certified, and they'll put any brand on it the customer wants. So my recommendation to you is don't make it about your brand. Leverage the brand. I mean, there's something called a threshold, where if you say to the customer, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, look, I could use any product that you want, but in my professional opinion, I would recommend that you work with GAF or Tamco. And by you making that opinion and the customer being familiar with that brand, they don't know much about it. They don't know what makes it better or different or why it's valuable, but they know they've heard of it and they know that you recommend it. And that's really all they're going to need. And if you don't believe me, look at these statistics from last year according to the NAHB. NAHB tells us that 65% of homeowners paid for their own roof. So the balance was like property managers and insurance work. Of those 65%, when they asked the homeowner what brand of shingles is on your home, 68% had no idea. 68% had no idea. And I'll promise you something. I'll bet you dollars to donuts that of the 32% that named a brand, I'd be willing to wager that many of them named the wrong brand. And the reason I know that is because years ago when ICO and Certainteed sponsored a study with Roofing Contractor magazine, we saw the results. What brand do you have on your home? Oh, I have GAF Oak Ridge shingles. I do. I have Certainteed Timberlines. I do. They had no idea. They know they were in Home Depot and saw the GAF logo and thought, that's what I have. When they asked homeowners why they chose that particular brand, 43% said it was because the contractor told me to. And guys, here's the thing I want you guys to consider, and this is why the company story is so important. If 68% of the people who wrote a check for $14,000, $15,000, $18,000, if they don't know what brand of shingles they purchased, why is that? It's because they didn't buy a brand of shingles. They bought a roofer. And your goal in the company story is to be the roofer of choice. So let's kind of talk about how we do that. Guys, I will tell you that the best company stories out there are the ones that recount a series of events that sparked your company's inception. And it also provides a narrative that explains to, how you got to where you are today and how that's a driving principle that allows you guys to keep going. And I often say that the most compelling story really has 4 different elements. Number 1, there has to be some sort of a conflict, right? As a business owner, you saw an opportunity to improve the marketplace. You saw an opportunity to offer a better service. You saw the opportunity to provide a much better experience. It also provides the status quo statement about, here's what the world was like before I got here. And then it talks about the resolution, which really describes the why of your service. It explains the problem that you solved and giving the customer an emotional payoff to your company. And the fourth thing, and this is by far, I think, the most important element of the story, it's authentic. Guys, people will know if you made it up. People will know if you're lying. They'll know if you're trying to manipulate them and pull on their heartstrings. So we want the stories to be authentic and real. Hey, Brian just emailed me and says he's from East Aurora. Brian, if Barbell's still open, grab me a couple dozen wings and just leave them on my porch, would you? So, guys, I'm going to share with you, I don't know if you know who this is, but this is Reed Ribble, and he's the CEO of the NRCA. Outstanding guy, solid guy, and I'm telling you right now, I don't know anybody other than myself, of course, and who loves this industry more than Reed does. And I will also tell you guys that if you haven't already signed up, and I'll show you in the end how to register, but we're having a webinar tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central Time with the NRCA, and it's a town hall meeting. And they're going to kind of give you a treetop perspective of the CARES Act and all the stimulus money that's available to you guys. And then you're going to be able to enter questions, and they're going to answer those questions as best we could. So I think we've got about 600 people scheduled to be on that thing tomorrow, and it's a really great opportunity for you guys to learn about some of the programs that are available. But getting back to Reed, we did a seminar at AT&T Stadium, and I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, so it really was hard for me to walk into AT&T Stadium. But then again, my ego was sort of like, hey, AT&T Stadium, cool. But we did that. I think we had about 300 roofers in the room, and Reed came in and kind of talked to the group about supporting the NRCA, and he's a big supporter of SRS. But what was interesting is Reed came in just after lunch, and just prior to lunch, I was talking about the company story. And then Reed got up after he did his presentation, and he says, what's amazing? He goes, I'm listening to John talk about the importance of company story, and I'd like to tell you mine. And I want to share it with you because I think it's a really cool example of what I talked about when I said, there needs to be a conflict, status quo, and then the resolution, and authentic. So Reed's father used to work for a local roofing contractor, and he was a salesperson. And Reed's father went out and sold a roofing job to an older couple, and the job went bad. I mean, the installers really screwed it up. And the homeowners called their salesperson and said to Reed's father, hey, this is not right. It's something wrong with this roof. Reed's dad looked at it and says, yeah, we definitely made a mistake. I'm going to talk to my company and we'll fix it. Well, the company that he worked for, the owners told him, buzz off. We're not doing anything. This is, it is what it is. So Reed's father felt kind of bad about the situation and the position that these homeowners were in. So Reed would do his day job during the day and go out and sell for this roofing company. And then at night, he would use his own money to buy the materials, and he went up on the roof, and he, over the course of a week to a week and a half, fixed this roof and made the homeowners whole. So on the last day, when Reed's father was leaving this couple's home, he asked them, is everything fixed? Are you happy? Did we take care of the problem? And the people said, yeah. And they handed Reed an envelope, or Reed's father an envelope. Reed's father didn't think of it. He was exhausted, got in the car, drove home, got home, saw the envelope, picked it up and opened it. And in that envelope, there was a card. And in the card, it said, we really want to thank you for doing what you did to help take care of our project. And we also want you to know that we think it was unfair that you would have to use your own money to fix our roof. So here's a check for $10,000. We'd like you to start your own roofing business, and we want you to call it Reliable Roofing. Now, I'm going to let you chew on that for a second because I get a little, that's a good one. Now, I don't know that I have reliable right. I can't remember the exact name of the business, but it was something along the lines of reliable or trustworthy or something to that effect. Now, that is a powerful company story. And that is something that I think, and I would trust, that Reed's father and Reed and his brothers, when they took over the business, they probably told that story quite a bit. And they probably, at least it was me, the marketing guy in me, would have a picture of that check and a copy of the card. Now, guys, I'm not suggesting to you that you need to have, because I know some people, I tell that story and they go, oh, I don't have a story like that. No, but you still have your story. And your story is unique to you, and it's something that's powerful to bring to the marketplace. I have a friend in Utah who used to be a home builder, and Utah was hit with some major weather. This was probably like 10, 12 years ago. And he decided, his customers were calling him and saying, I've got roof damage and I can't get information that's right from the insurance company and the installers, and it's all a big mess and I don't know what's going on. And he saw that as an opportunity to kind of get involved and say, you know, people deserve a better experience when they're stressed out in a storm environment. So he created his company, and I won't tell you who it is because I don't want to embarrass them, but he created his company and they're highly successful today. So when you think about that story, right, now we've got this sort of story, and I'll walk you guys into how you can kind of craft that. But I want you to think about that story is really only a very small part of your presentation. It's really the starting point of your entire presentation. And within that, we're going to build on things like your biography is going to be included in that, the characters that you're playing. I mean, just like any, movie that we would watch, there's main characters. Who are the characters? Who are the owners? Who's the office manager? Who's the production manager? Who's your team? I think that it's very important that you guys showcase your talent, your team members to your customers, because people want to get a sense of who they're buying from, especially the female buyers. They kind of want to see the cast of characters that's going to be responsible for managing their project. We often encourage our sales reps to try to get our customers to come into the branch and meet some of the other people. Right? I mean, we know that we've got people in our branches that make the magic happen every single day. I mean, they're the ones that are ultimately responsible for keeping the promises that we make. And we think it's a good opportunity to have everybody meet them as well. What about the customer experience? How does your company's story feed the perception that you're going to deliver a significantly better experience? How does your company's story minimize their perception of risk? And that's really important to think about too, right? Because some of us like to get at the kitchen table and talk about the reasons why we're the best. But homeowners really have no idea of determining what the best looks like. But if we do present our story in a way that allows them to come to the conclusion that these guys there's no risk. Matter of fact, I feel safe. That's really powerful. And that comes down to customer experience. And I'll tell you one other thing, speaking about the customer experience. If you go online and you read reviews about contractors, negative reviews, the 1-star reviews on Google and all that stuff, I mean, more often than not, what they're complaining about is the experience. It's not about the fact that they didn't flash my shingle properly or they didn't cut the valley properly. It's about they didn't show up on time. They left my yard a mess. They didn't communicate effectively. The installers weren't as nice as the salesperson. So you need to feed the perception. And I'm going to show you in the end, one of the things that I encourage you to put in your company's story is frequently asked questions. Doesn't mean that these are the questions that you're literally asked by your prospects. What you're doing is you're just putting questions into the mind of the customer, forcing them to think about some of the things that they should be concerned about. And then while you do that, you're also answering those questions to position yourself as the person that's in the best position to satisfy them in that area. And I'll show you what that means in a second. The other thing your company story needs to do is it needs to answer the questions why and so what. And guys, one of the things that's important is like when you talk about the fact that I'm fully insured, I don't think a lot of customers, homeowners really understand what that means. Fully insured. So what? They think your insurance is designed to protect you, the contractor. And you need to let them know that insurance is important because it protects the homeowner. And some homeowners policies don't cover the workers' comp, accidents caused to workers. So the customer may be personally liable. And then we also want to make sure that somewhere within the body of our company story, we're doing that, communicating our special sauce. And I'm going to use Jeff Wisniewski's comment from his webinar the other day. What is your differentiator? What makes you different? What makes you better? What's your hook? Right? That should be part of the presentation. So here's a lot of text, okay? And I'm going to kind of walk through this. The first step is, and I think there's 3 steps to building a great company story. And the first thing I would encourage you guys to do is to take out a notepad and write about your business, past, present, and future. Start with the founder and why he or she started the business in the first place, and try to provide a historical account of what got you to this place. You could talk about some of the struggles you had. You could talk about some of the experiences you had. Now understand, this might be a really long story at this point. We're just doing this for context and to try to get our mind wrapped around what it is that we really want to talk about. The second step, once we've mapped that out, is to develop a statement to kind of summarize the reasons why your company exists. This is what marketers refer to as a brand statement, or almost like a brand promise. It's important that when you think about this statement that you're trying to speak to the issues that matter most to your customer. It's not about you. Hey man, we came into the business because we just want to make a boatload of money, right? That's not a good brand message. You know, we went into business because we saw there was an opportunity to provide a better experience to customers, we saw customers were being taken advantage of on their roofing projects, and we kind of wanted to be the guys that brought some integrity into the industry. Whatever your story is, what is your why? And then what I want you to do is write a short story around that statement. The statement that you made in step 2 really becomes the starting point of the bigger story, and the story becomes the starting point of your entire presentation. Guys, if you asked people who manage websites, what is the most visited page on a contractor's website, they will tell you it's the About Us page. They are more interested in learning about who you are and why you exist than they are interested in learning about why you're the best. Who are you and why do you exist? That's what that first element speaks to. So what I've also created here is a presentation builder checklist, right? And this checklist is sort of a soup to nuts of what you might want to include in your presentation, or some guys refer to it as a brag book. It starts with your company story, maybe a little brief history. Talks about your qualifications, certifications, awards, licensings, affiliations, any recognition that you have, right? What are your differentiators? Do you have a hook? Look, I know some guys that offer a no payment promise. Look, we are so committed to your complete satisfaction, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, that we won't accept any money until we know that you're completely satisfied. I'm not telling you guys to adopt that as a strategy. I'm just explaining that that's their hook, right? I know another guy in Ohio that promises the impeccable cleanup guarantee, to the point where he tells the homeowner that if you find any nails on the property, I think he says, if you find any more than 10 nails, we'll buy them back. Now, I love that. I mean, that's marketing brilliance as far as I'm concerned, because he actually sets the expectation that you're going to find nails, right? But then he says, but for everyone over 10 or everyone over 15, we'll buy them back. Now, you know, in your world, when you tell them you're going to clean up, they expect 0 nails. Well, he tells people you're going to find them. It's not uncommon to find a few nails. But here's the deal. We'll buy them back if they're over this amount. So he kind of reduces the heartburn associated with 2 or 3 nails on the property. Proof of insurance should be in there, but you need to answer the why. Customer testimonials are also important. Photos of work in progress and what to expect. Guys, what you're going to find is, and this, people are often confused by this, the company story actually sort of melds into the product orientation. And I don't know, for some of you guys, if you participated in the advanced selling strategies or pricing strategies webinar that I did, remember I said to you that we're selling all the options and the upgrades of the system before we talk about the shingle options. Well, we're talking about all those systems upgrades really within the company story. And you're going to see when I give you my example that we talk a little bit about who we are, we introduce them to the team, we talk about what our clients are saying, we talk about what makes us different, then we talk about our warranty, and then the warranty literally walks right into, here's why you need to hire a professional contractor. Let's talk about your roof. And as we're talking about things like their valley, their skylights, their chimneys, I'm asking them to make product choices and choose options that are best for them. And then once all that's said and done, I then ask the question, the commitment question, hey, based on what we've talked about, how confident are you in our ability to handle this project? Oh, we think you're great. Awesome. I'd love to know some of the reasons why you feel that way. Would you mind sharing? Sure. And then we get into, let's talk about some of the different shingles that we have to offer here. And then I'm showing them my good, better, best offering. And then I bundle in all those systems upgrades to the better or best, because if you remember from the other webinar, it's because the fear of loss, the fear of losing free compels them to want to buy the better and the best product. And besides, they had already just told you they wanted better ice and water protector, better underlayment, and a better ventilation package. And now you're telling me that I'll get all those things for free if I buy the better shingle? Yes, sir. Oh, wow. So then it motivates, it basically discounts the other product. Why would I buy the good product and then upgrade to all those systems, upgrades, pay the cost of all the systems upgrades when I can just get the better shingle and I get those upgrades for free? And if you missed that webinar, I mean, sucks for you guys because it was pretty freaking awesome. No, I'm just kidding. It'll be recorded on the website the next day or two. Other thing you want to show is your, as I see here, warranty information, beautiful before and after photos, and then product options and upgrades within the process. One word about before and after photos. If you need to, in big, bold letters, write the words before and after on the picture, maybe you need to find a different before and after photo. I mean, the customers should be able to see, wow, that was a transformation. And I see that some of the marketing that I see guys that are like, this one's the before, and people are like, and this one's the after. And it's like, yeah, it looks like they got a different color. Find a different, shingle. Find a different project to showcase. So what I'm going to do right now, let me just check on my time here. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to kind of walk you through a template of a presentation that I built to kind of show you how some of this stuff that I talked about sort of plays into the conversation. And one of the things that I would encourage you to do is to, as you're looking at this, I want you to think about your own presentation and how it's presented to customers versus what I'm showing you here, and ask yourself, have that, tough conversation with yourself to say, which one do I think would make a better impression? Now, I want to be clear. Some of the stuff that I'm showing you guys here, it was hard for me to do this because I'm on the internet trying to pull down images, and some of you guys may go, hey, that's my crew, which would be great, by the way. But it was hard for me to find pictures. I don't have a lot of text in here. You'll find what they call temporary or placeholder text. It's just some Greek gibberish. But again, I'm just trying to give you a sense of how this thing might look. So I start off with a picture. Here's a family admiring their kids in their beautiful new home. And I have some statement about my business. And my company is called Less Risky Roofing. Now, I've heard, somebody asked me one day, is that a real roofing contractor? And I don't believe so, although I have heard, somebody told me there's a guy in Minnesota called Lester Risky, and his business is called Risky Roofing, which is questionable. If that's your name, I guess you got to kind of roll with that, but I'm not playing on his presentation here. So first thing I do is I start off with the About Us section. We're a family-owned business with more than 50 years experience designing and building custom renovations of all sizes. We specialize in exterior renovations with an extensive background in roofing, siding, and window replacement. Our satisfied clients include more than 5,000 homeowners, and their referrals are the lifeblood of our business. We're a proud member of the NRCA, and all of our team members are fully certified, licensed, and insured. We guarantee your project will be flawlessly executed with the highest standards of professional conduct, and it lists what those certifications are. Okay? Now, guys, I don't expect that you're going to need to get into a lot of the reasons why your certification makes you better. I would certainly, in these cases, I know Owens Corning and GAF will tell you that you represent the best of the best if you have that Master Elite or that Platinum status, and you certainly want to leverage the fact that you've been recognized by the shingle manufacturer and are now identified as among the top 3% of all roofers in that program, and that's something that you're very proud of. But I don't want you to get into a heck of a lot of details about all of that because it really should be more about you. I'm also giving a little plug to the NRCA's Pro Certification Program, which is something I know that they've worked on, and they now have the ability to provide your installers with an actual certification that certifies by the National Roofing Contractor Association that they are installing at the highest professional level. Now, here's the thing that I want to be clear about. I just read to you this slide. You would never do that with a customer. Okay? What you would want to do is you would want to use the slide just as an element to enhance whatever it is that you're going to tell them. So you might have some information in here that talks about your 50 years experience and what you specialize in and how many clients you have. But when you're telling your story and you're talking about where you started to the point of where you are today, here's how our business was founded, and these are the principles that guided us to where we are today, we can introduce some of this verbiage into that. The 50 years, extensive background, 5,000 homeowners. Okay? The other thing that you're going to want to do is talk about being fully insured and highlight what type of insurance you have. And I have a picture here. It's blurry. I apologize, of my insurance certificate. We're fully insured to protect our clients, our workers, the property of our clients, and that of their neighbors. There's two types of insurance that the contractor is required to have. Workers' comp, I explain that. Liability, I explain that. You're going to have this on the screen, but I recommend that you have an actual copy of your insurance certificate, and you're going to highlight the coverages and also the date of coverage, indicating to the homeowner that one of the things you need to check is to make sure that this certificate that they're giving you is valid for today. A lot of guys will come in and show you an insurance certificate from 5 years ago, and the homeowner never realizes that the contractor isn't insured like they say they are. Just by having that conversation and answering that why question, you've elevated your standard. Because now they're starting to wonder in their mind, if that's the case, then how do we know that the other guys we're setting appointments with, how do we know that they're not going to do that? And then they've got to ask themselves, is it really worth me going through this entire process when I know that these guys are a good fit, when I know that they're insured, when they pass all my tests? And hopefully as we move through the presentation, we're going to answer all those questions. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to introduce them to the team. Now, I would list everybody that's on the team. I would even, and I couldn't find any photos, but in this blue section here, I would have a picture of our entire team standing in the front of our trucks, all smiling. If you got a drone, take the drone up, take a nice picture of the group. But you'll see here I have the owner of the business, Lester Risky, the office manager, Leanne Risky, and one of the project managers, John Beck. Okay? And within that, I'm going to provide a little bit of a bio about each person. Now, I will tell you this. This picture of the owner sitting on a roof doing work, I think there's certainly an advantage to that narrative. Hey, he's on the job, he's working, he's a part of this business, he's not just some silent owner. But I also think that there's something really powerful about us showing a picture of the owner with his family, a picture of the owner with his dog, a picture of the owner kind of being a human being outside of work. It's up to you as the owner how you want to portray your image and your brand, but I think that you need to be involved. And I would also suggest that your team members page only needs to be one page. I know when I was going through my kitchen remodel that the person had a binder that they were going through with me, and there were 4 pages of their team. And like by the time they got to page 4, they were on like the 7th brother in the company, and here's what he did. I'll never forget what she said. She goes, he's in charge of strategic planning. So she said he does like, you know, the planning stuff. That was really, really powerful. So my feeling is if that's all you got to say about what he or she does, then maybe you could just list them on the side or not give a heck of a lot of detail. Have an opportunity to talk about your past clients. Now, I went through and I found all these stock images of happy families in the front of their roof, in the front of their project, and that's really cool if you can get that. But I'm a big fan, guys, and you've heard me talk about social proof selling. Get the customer to write a testimonial, print that testimonial or their photo right on that testimonial page when you run it through your printer. Get a picture of the homeowner standing in the front of your home, of their home, next to your yard sign with the thumbs up. Okay? And I know some people are uncomfortable getting in photos and doing all that. That's fine. I'm not going to force them to do that. But I also know that I've got kids who watch YouTube and they show me all kinds of things that people are willing to do on internet. It's reasonable to expect that many of those people will just take a nice picture for you. I will tell you this, just from a safety perspective, if you do take their picture, have them just sign off on a release that says you're allowed to use that picture in presentations and in your marketing, okay? Because last thing you want to do is build marketing around all this stuff and have people say, hey, I want you to stop, right? It's really uncomfortable. Start to get into the experience, right? Now we're going to start parlaying in information about, hey, let's talk about how the project gets started. Here's how we do takeoff preparation. This can be a messy process. We take great care to protect your home and your landscaping from any debris. And be quite truthful, the steps that we take allow us to, pave the way for a much more thorough cleanup. Okay? Now, I don't have the whole process in here because I'm at a hard time finding contractors with those images on their website. But you could, with your crews, take some pictures. And I'll tell you this, if you hired a professional photographer to go out with your crews for 2 days and just take professional photos, it is not very expensive. I mean, I had a guy who came to AT&T Stadium and recorded the entire seminar in HD and gave it to me on a smart drive, and it was $250 for 7 hours. We could probably find a professional photographer who wants to just go out in the sun and take your pictures for a couple $100, and now you've got professional photography. Make sure the guys are wearing safety equipment. Make sure they're tied off, using logos on their hats, whatever it is that you're using to make professionally represent yourself. I walk into the warranty, and I'm going to tell you guys, I know I'm a little bit out of school with some of my customers when I say this, but I think that the warranty in a lot of cases is a conversation that some customers avoid. And I don't mean avoid in the sense of being duplicitous. I just mean that we just sort of glance over it. And I remember when my aunt had her roof done, and I said, hey, what kind of shingles did you put on your roof? And she said, I put Certainty Landmark shingles on my roof. Are they good? I went, oh, yeah, they're all good. They're good shingles. And I go, what kind of warranty did you get? She goes, oh, it was a lifetime warranty. The roofer told me that if anything ever went wrong, that was good for the life of the roof. I went, oh, yeah. It's not exactly true. I didn't say that to her because if you knew my aunt, you'd probably just not even want to have any conversation with her. But guys, there's two different warranties that the homeowner gets when they hire a contractor. You know this. One is the product warranty. And guys, if you dive into the product warranty, most of them pretty clearly state that it protects the homeowner in the a very unlikely event of a manufacturer's defect that causes a leak or a performance problem. Now, it doesn't say unlikely event, but we all know that at the end of the day, if the shingle leaks, if the roof leaks, it's probably not the fault of the shingle. And it has to do with the installation that was behind it. So if I'm a contractor, I'm talking to the homeowner and saying, let's talk about the warranty, because this is really important, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. When you hire a roofing contractor, you're getting two different warranties. One is the product warranty. This is what that covers. One is the workmanship warranty. That's what this covers. Which one do you think is most important? The goal is to get the homeowner to say that the workmanship warranty is most important, because when they say that, we can then walk them into how we do things and try to feed, again, that perception that we're the least risky option because of all the steps that we take during the installation process and because we're offering options that allow you to get into the project. Now, for some reason, my photo wasn't on here. Hold on a second, because it's important that we show you that. I don't have it. So guys, the page before this would have been an image of a roof. And that roof has arrows pointing to all the areas of a home that I would define as critical. So things like bathroom vents, skylights, dormers, chimneys, valleys, okay? And what I would do is I would define those as critical roof areas, and I would say, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, when the contractor installs the roof on your project, there's certain areas of the home that really need to be done perfectly, because these are the areas that are most susceptible to roof leaks. And then what I would do is I would have maybe my Eagle View report next to me, and I would look at the Eagle View report, and I would show them, based on that report, all of the things that were on their roof that they have. Like in the slide that I created, which for some reason isn't on here, it would list bathroom vents, and there was points for you to start checking things off. And you could write on the screen, say, you have three valleys, you have 2 skylights, and you have 4 bathroom vents. And then what I would encourage you guys to do is to then dive into each of those sections, not real deep, but just enough to give them some peace of mind that you're doing the things that are going to ensure a significantly better experience. Now you'll see here I have the less risky wall of shame. And I would say, let's talk about the valleys, for example. And I would show them, now here's a picture of some valleys that we've been called out to inspect in the area. And I can't promise you that these leak, but they're supposed to look a heck of a lot nicer than this. And I would also highlight that, keep in mind, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, if these leaked because of these valleys, that would not fall under the lifetime warranty of the shingle manufacturer. That would be something that falls underneath the contractor's workmanship warranty. So let's talk about how we do it. And then I show them our options. So I give them the less risky options. We offer two different options, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. One is a closed cut valley. It's the most common option. I give a little description of what that is. We strongly recommend the open metal valley, and here's the reasons why. And guys, I didn't want to, for the sake of time, get into too much discussion on this stuff. But like if you're in an area like the Pacific Northwest where you've got just torrential rain a good percentage of the year, you might want to highlight that as part of this conversation. Seattle gets 90 gallons of rain a year, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. This is the reason why we recommend an open metal valley, talking about water runoff, wear and tear on the shingles, looks better, so on and so forth. And now I'm introducing these two options, and I'm asking them, hey, based on these two options, which one would you like me to consider on your project? Or would you like to consider for your project? Hopefully getting them to say, well, I want the most popular option. I want that metal valley. After we go through all of that, we're going to finish up by talking about, again, back to the less risky difference. How do we clean up the project? Clean up, we scoop granules out of your gutters. We use magnetic sweepers. If you have a picture of somebody, on their hands and knees picking up, nails out of the grass, that's pretty powerful examples of you guys going above and beyond. Now I have this picture here on the right, which is kind of faded out, but it just shows a complete catastrophe. Please, if that's your work, don't showcase that to the homeowner. I mean, you might profess to have the best cleanup on the planet, but that scares the crap out of people, and we don't want them to be afraid of their project. We also don't want to overpromise and talk about fairies and leprechauns, and we're just going to sprinkle dust on your roof and poof, you've got a new roof. But I do want to hide or shelter them a little bit from the catastrophe. And you'll notice I have on here, this is not a less risky project. Just showcasing that this might be what you get from those other guys that you're going to meet with. I also mentioned to you guys that I think it's cool to let the customer, maybe throw some questions into your presentation that just says, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, I just wanted to go over that. These are some of the most common questions that we get asked by our clients. And I just wanted you to maybe take a look at these and see if any of these are things that you want to discuss. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to insert into their minds things that they might not be thinking about, but things that I'm prepared to show them that we deliver a better experience. So like, well, where do your workers go to the bathroom? Like a homeowner might go, gosh, I never even thought about that. Where do you workers go to the bathroom? Well, good thing you asked, because I can show you, right? Or I can tell you. Where do your, how will I know if the workers on the project are part of your crew? Well, that's a great question, right? But again, it's all just about feeding that perception that you're going to provide a significantly better experience, and hopefully allowing you guys to set a standard that makes it very difficult for your competitors to compete with you. Now, keep in mind, you asking these questions, if they do choose to meet with somebody else, they're probably going to ask them some of these questions. But those other guys are not prepared. And I can tell you they're not prepared because when I do seminars, I'll ask the question, so where do your guys go to the bathroom? And they'll go, oh, man, 7-Eleven. Or, they're not allowed to go anywhere where the customer can see them. I'm like, what? That's not a good bathroom policy. How's that going to come across at the kitchen table? Guys, don't forget that one of the other things that you can do to enhance your company's story is to utilize RoofHub's Show Past Orders feature. If you go to roofhub.pro and you click on the Show Past Orders button, it will populate onto the map all of the orders or delivery locations of all the orders that we've delivered for you, I think up to the past 5 years. This provides social proof, right? Back in the day, McDonald's in 1955 started putting on their signs how many burgers were sold. And as the number grew from 1 million to 99 billion, well, so did McDonald's sales and so did their profits. All we're doing here is we're making the promise that people enjoy your burgers, right? People like using you. People have spent the money to hire you, right? And I got all these testimonials to prove it. How am I doing on time here? So I'm about 5 minutes over, and I'm just going to leave you with just a couple of quick things. Guys, I've kind of made this the sign-off for every webinar that we do. I hope you're all safe and healthy. I think we're starting to get some better news. I don't know how you gauge that today, but the projected death number is dropping strongly, which is a lot, which is good. I think they said yesterday it was down like 28%. That's awesome news. We got to take every little bit we can get. But I want to assure you guys that we're all in this together, and I believe that if we work together, we can all come out of this stronger than we ever were before. So I'll highlight for you guys some of the webinars that we have coming up. Next week, we've got a webinar called Stop Selling, Start Coaching. This is a webinar that's really for owners and sales managers. It's designed to help you guys become better sales coaches, which is something in my humble experience I think that I've learned that we probably need some help with. On the 16th, we're going to look at the storm selling process. I'm going to tell you guys why I think that's broken. And I'm also going to share with you guys some insights into how you can take some of the important things that we do in the retail sale and very easily incorporate them into the storm sale for the benefit of, not only getting the order, but securing the deductible, paving the way for upsells, and reducing cancellations. On the 17th, Predictive Sales AI is going to do a webinar on digital door knocking. Don't be fooled by the title. This is not just for storm guys who canvas. This is for everybody. This is the group that we've partnered with to provide our hail maps on our Roof Hub application. And they've got an awesome technology that will literally allow you to just, lasso markets. It'll tell you what that market represents from a lead opportunity perspective, and then it'll provide you with a very inexpensive way for you to sort of ping those clients electronically to set up a virtual meeting. And then it actually has the technology that allows you to walk them through that virtual meeting as well, which is everything from presentation to pricing to close. I actually just added this webinar for the 20th. This really came as a result of Steve Wisniewski's webinar the other day on the magic bullet to scaling your business. And Steve talked about culture. So I've invited our director of organizational development, Matt Coates, who's a brilliant guy, knows a lot about servitude and coaching and culture and all that stuff. And he's going to do a 45-minute presentation on really how to develop a culture that is, impassions your people to want to get up every day and give their best. And I do want to remind you that tomorrow at 11 a.m., we've got that really important topic with the NRCA. If you use your cell phone camera, you could scan this code, and it'll allow you guys to register right there on your cell phone. I want to just be clear that if you have registered, the link that we sent to you, that link is unique to you. Don't share it with anybody. If you think you're going to share it with your team members and they're all going to log on with that link, only one person's going to get on because we had to make sure that we went through this approval process so we had enough spaces and seats for everybody to participate. Now I'm going to run through some of the questions that you guys had. Are all the webinars listed on Roof Hubs? No. Certainly a great question, and the marketer in me wants to tell Ingrid hats off to thinking outside of the box. That's what we should be doing. But in the light of COVID-19 and being having limited resources and now everybody's scrambling, we just haven't had the tools to actually build that on there yet. I will tell you that all the webinar recordings are going to be on Roof Hub. So there's a training tab that you'll be able to go to where it's going to have all the recordings and then some videos that I've created and other stuff that we're going to be building to over time. If there's any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you. Hi, Sherry. How are you? Thanks for being here. So John asks, how come AccuLynx integrates with other suppliers like ABC? And John, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm like 99.99% certain that it is not a seamless integration. The thing that really and I want to thank you for asking that question, but the thing that really separates Roof Hub from many of the other products out there is the fact that our software and our CRMs integrate seamlessly. When you place an order on your AccuLynx with ABC, all it is doing is it is taking a PDF attachment of your order and it is emailing it to ABC. And then that person actually has to open the order and then transfer that into their system. With Roof Hub, it's seamless. So it's seamless to the point where when it comes down to creating an order, you don't even need to build the order. Roof Hub uses artificial intelligence to actually comb through your order history, and it spits out templates based on the items that you order most from the branch. So if you're a Tamco user who's got Heritage shingles and all their accessories, it's going to give you a template with the Tamco logo on it and says, here's your Tamco order. And all you got to do is go in and maybe tweak one or two items. It's actually so smart, too, that if you change the color on the shingle, It uses smart color technology to automatically change all the colors to match that shingle. So a little bit different, and I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to explain that. Take care.